Hello everyone, it's Green Hunter. Remember to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Now on to the review. The first thing I wanted to mention is that this episode is so much more upbeat than the last episode, although there is one sad moment at the very end. So this episode starts off with a conversation between Mine and Fran talking about how the restoration of the orphanage is going. Fran says it's going great, and an interesting bit of information comes to mind. The kids treat Gil as their messiah, and likewise Mine as well, since Gil has been going around praising how wonderful Mine is. That'll come back later in the episode. But I just find it cool how, Gil was the only one out of the three of them yesterday last episode, that was like, please help, and he was the one that was, I believe, most against Mine. Delia is pretty close, but he was really going to be an optional, I thought, and now he's on Mine's side, so I'm glad. Then we actually have a touching scene between Mine and Delia. Can you believe it? Even though Delia is technically still working for the High Priest, she confides into Mine that basically she was pulled out of that nasty situation with the orphanage on her baptism day, and two other girls along with her were taken to the High Priest, and only she was chosen to be his gray robe retainer. So that makes me wonder, how did he choose her, and what happened to the other two? Because it's almost like the way she says it, like, I'm just going to theorize here, but I think the rejected grey robes, they don't go back to the orphanage. Instead, I believe they are executed. And this, mind you, wouldn't be the first dark thing we've seen from this church. Remember how awful they treated these kids, and Ferdinand's words in the last episode about the church seeing unbaptized kids as subhuman. And so that's why she's like, why weren't you there to save me? So it's like, on one hand, Delia last episode was like, this is hopeless. On the other hand, you can sort of see her realize the good that Mine is doing, and she realizes that this is a crooked system, but yet she's still afraid to go against that crooked system, so she's still working towards her original goal. So I think later on in this season, she'll actually totally desert the High Priest, especially with what Mine promises. Mine says, if you ever need help again, I'll be there to help you. So that to me is a red flag saying that the High Priest, the old man, is going to do something to her, and Mine is going to get her out of trouble some way, somehow. And she's going to completely abandon the High Priest, and then Mine's gonna, as we go through this series, she's going to reform the church like she's doing now, but on a more drastic scale. The reason I say this is because when she gets to the orphanage in this episode for the very first time, after they've cleaned it up, she goes in and she says a prayer, and then she pulls out like a box full of like these, what I can describe as baked potatoes, basically, and she says that these are rewards. Note that fact, that these are rewards, and if their names are called, that they're supposed to get up and get their reward. And she only calls like a few of them, and the rest of them are like, how come they get alms of the gods? But the fact is she still gives them alms of the gods like regular meals, but these extra foodstuffs are specifically for those kids that actually worked harder than the rest and actually went above and beyond. Like Wilma, she actually took it upon herself to wash a lot of the younger kids, and Ree actually was an excellent cleaner. So they got baked potatoes basically, and it's just this whole, like we can see with Gil earlier in the season, this whole mindset that because they've been in this struggle for survival, they think that everything, what little they're given, is supposed to be entitled to everybody. Which that's not what mine's saying. Mine is saying you work and you get rewarded for it because that shows that you have individual value. So I really like that. The fact that she's still giving them food, she's still nice to them, she treats them a whole lot better than everybody else. But yet she still says these are rewards for those who went above and beyond. That way it shows them, maybe not in the short term, but in the long term, that they have value, which is something along with praise that they have never gotten before. Next up, we have the orphans and Gutfer, Mine's dad, along with Lutz and Tully, all go into the woods to teach the kids how to gather materials for paper. And it really shows that the love and care Mine's put towards these kids, even though it's been shown in like a montage format, it really shows because they all want to get something from Mine. They all want to do their best because she treats them so well and as human beings. And also, it's so great just to see all the characters again. It's really interesting because, you know, for her dad to agree on this, she had to let her family know what was actually going on behind the scenes. And that probably hurts Comfort even more because he knew the church was bad. But to know that the church is doing this to regular kids, much less his mind that has a family. And if it wasn't for her manner and the fact that she has a family that she can go home to, there's no telling what they would do to her. That's got to be playing in the back of his mind. Another thing is that Mine is trying to educate her retainers and the orphans. As a gift for Fran, she basically makes him a wax tablet where it's like, it's got wooden flames, but it's also got wax paper in the middle, and then a pen. I don't know how she made the pen, but that's exactly what it is. And he basically can write on the wax tablet, and that'll help him, keep up with orders. And for Gil and Delia, she gave them basically easels with chalk, basically what she got from Odo, so it's really, really interesting. Now she's trying to pass on what she's learned to them, and take it one step further. She had Wilma make flashcards out of wood for the kids to play and actually learn vocabulary. So here's a theory that I've got. Ferdinand said in the last episode, a well-trained slave can fetch a pretty penny. Well, gray robe, but let's be honest, he was saying slave. I think Mine will start to get respect from nobles because when it comes finally time for a noble to take control of one of Mine's orphans, they will realize they may not understand, treating them right, but they'll understand, wow, these kids, they're educated, they're well fed, everything, and then that'll cause them in secret to ask Mine, how'd you get these orphans that, months ago were just pitiful and on the verge of death to this point. And it's like they'll start implementing these reforms not on a moral sort of basis, but on a practical sort of basis if these nobles see the quality of the retainers. And I hate to objectify it like this, But that's basically what's going to get through the noble's head. And then once they see the returns from it, they'll also associate that with morality, because that's how you get people who wouldn't normally do stuff for the sake of good, of just being good to do stuff. You show them that yes, it's good, but it also morally benefits them. So I really am hoping that all that sort of melds together and transitions. As a side note, we get an update on Lutz and his family. Well, him and his brother. His brother's a carpenter, of course. And of course, Lutz is a merchant. And so when Lutz went to go get the wood for the flashcards, his brother had no clue what he was doing, and they didn't really talk a whole lot. And Lutz explains that merchants and carpenters don't really have a whole lot in common. But I hope that changes, because, of course, carpenters can make products that merchants can sell. And with them being brothers, they could really have a strong business connection, and profits could skyrocket for both of them. And they can also have a familiar brotherly bond that they used to have before Luke sort of took on this merchant career. So it's just a whole lot of politics and him going against tradition. Now we come to what I consider to be the meat, the juicy red meat of this steak of an episode. The Star Festival bits. Lutz and Mine are walking, and Lutz tells Mine about the Star Festival. Now, what that is, from Lutz's perspective, is all the kids in the town get together once a year and they throw tula fruits at each other, or mainly at couples. So it's almost like a game of fruit dodgeball, what you see here on the screen, you know. And so Mine wants to go, and you think when it's saying couples, you think, oh, they're going to try to ship Lutz and Mine. Nope. Mine's heart is too innocent and pure for such a thing as romance. Instead, Mine stops in her tracks and is like, I wonder if the orphans get to participate in this Star Festival. And so she sets up a meeting with Ferdinand to talk, and he's like, you fool, you shouldn't be worrying about this whole common plebeian sort of crap. You should be focused on your duties during the Star ceremony. Now, what the Star ceremony is, he didn't directly tell us because Mine isn't allowed to directly participate. But what her duties are is to keep the orphans locked up, basically, in the orphanage, so that they don't cause a ruckus and interfere with the adults. Keep them out of sight. Bury them, because the adults will be there at the cathedral. And it's like, okay. So you're telling me in years past, when you treated these orphans badly, in order to save face, you basically quarantined them so nobody would find out about it. That is so messed up. Furthermore, she's like, well, can they go to town, and play with the other kids? And he's like, absolutely not. We can't have complaints getting out about the orphans in town. And when he says that, what I think he really means is he still thinks they're, as bad as they were. He hasn't been really paying attention to what Mine's been doing for the most part. And so he's like, no, they must be quarantined here in the cathedral, which still shows his noble mindset that they are church property, and they can't risk some one of the orphans spilling everything that's happened to them to one of the local kids, and then a whole ruckus being created from it. So then mine, still wanting to give these kids something to celebrate and look forward to, she asked Ferdinand, well, if they're supposed to be confined to the orphanage, is it okay if they play around the orphanage? And Ferdinand's response is just, I'm like, dude, are you really? I know you're not heartless, but you're just so latched into your own noble society that there's stuff that you don't even consider. And he says, play, like, what is play? Like, you know, that whole idea that they needed entertainment and good quality of life just did not, like, register to him. And she's like, yeah, play, you know, a similar thing to what they do in town, have the kids throw the tulip fruits at each other and just have a good time. And he's like, alright, as long as you make sure they're not a nuisance, aka that they're not anywhere seen near the adults, because then the adults might question, and as long as, you know, you clean up after yourself. So then, yay, the kids are all excited. Lutz and the kids go out and they pick a bunch of these fruits, and everything is grand, and they get ready to take a fruit, and mine grabs one, and I believe a similar thing happened in season 1. These fruits all of a sudden suck up her mana, which either I'm, you know, not thinking straight, but didn't a similar thing happen in season 1? It was probably not that same fruit, but it was like she picks the fruit, it takes her mana, and it sprouts into one of those shroom trees, and so she throws it on the ground, and everybody gets ready with knives, and they start chopping it into bits. In a sequence, you have Lutz and Gil basically with their knives, and some others with their knives, and they're all like chopping the shroom down, and it's a cute little action scene, and everything. And then they're like, okay, now everybody can do this whole Star Festival. So they get to play in, they're having fun. Yay, you know. And then mine notices a tile that's been raised up. And mine's like, oh, I should clean up after, let me go stomp it down. And Fran's like, no, I'll do it. So he stomps it down and everything seems good. Uh-oh, mine has her sort of spell. She falls down, and Fran carries her home. She talks to her mom. Everything seems good. A few days later, she comes back. Presumably, Fran's been taking care of the orphans all during this time. And then we get to the most frustrating, most sad part of the episode. That I'm like, this has been a great episode. I mean, honestly. And then Ferdinand just has to ruin it all with these last few minutes. Basically, she gets in there, and he's like, you fool. How dare you make a mess with them throwing the fruits at each other? And she's like, well, what? I told you. And he's like, but the tile, it was up. And before she can say anything, he's like, go, you must repent to the gods, you must be punished, you must do this and you must do that, think of what you've done. And before she can say anything, Fran cuts in, and he's like, please, sir, head priest, please reconsider. And before he can say anything, she is literally hauled off to what I can only describe to as solitary confinement for hours. Like in when it shows us going into the scene, it's midday, and you can see by the slot in the slot in the back of the cell, it's about just this big high, this big and wide that it's pretty daylight when she first goes in, and then when they finally come and get her out, it's orange, so the sun is set. So she's, let's say for conservative estimate, she's been in there since 12. She's probably getting, they probably come and get her around, I'd say 5:30, 6 o'clock. So that's about 5 hours. When they come and get her and there's no air ventilation or anything, she's collapsed on the floor. And before anything, Fran goes to her, and he's like, let him mine. And I kid you not, Ferdinand is like, I thought you said she had recovered. And Ferdinand's like, Lady Mine is very sickly. Don't you get it? Like, he doesn't say that this forceful, but it's almost like he's trying in a polite way to say, don't you get it? And then Ferdinand finally realizes that, wait, when you said not to punish her, you weren't worried about her saving face, like the political sort of jargon. You were worried about her health, and that's when it hits him. But you know what really stings me about this whole thing is that last season, the final, her parents, and we got a flashback of this, her parents told the head priest Ferdinand that Mine was sickly. When they were talking to Bento, Mine fell, and Ferdinand was like, get up, and Bento had to explain, this is Mine's condition. That's the second time. Now we have a third time where she's literally been in there for who knows how long, passed out in the heat. So that's 3 times, and it wouldn't be a big deal. I mean, it would be a big deal, but the thing that burns my goat about this is because the whole first season, Bento especially, and the church made a big deal about understanding the devouring, understanding what it does, understanding this, understanding that. From what I've seen, Ferdinand does not understand anything about the devouring. All he understands is that these commoners have an excess amount of mana that can be drained. He doesn't understand, I don't think any of them understand the actual disease itself, just what it can do for them. And that's just sickening to me for someone who has a disability, that they're not even taking the proper time to realize. And the retainer's doing a better job, and Lutz, a commoner's doing a better job of making sure Mine is still alive. Because let's be honest, if it was all to Ferdinand right now, I think Mine would be worse off, because while she doesn't have church skills, Ferdinand's just like in his own little noble world. He hasn't, like the whole thing about Mine possibly being kidnapped. There's so many things that he hasn't thought of that's commonplace for her, just as like she hasn't thought of so many things that could get her hurt. So it's like they both have to learn in this whole crazy mess. Anyway, sorry for going on a long tangent about that last part. It's just, it needed to be said, especially from my perspective, how much that got my blood boiling. But let's say a prayer. Dear Lord, please bless this video, and just please keep us safe and sound, and thank you for another day. And Jesus, I pray, just may this channel grow, and may you just keep our thoughts away from all the craziness that's happening in the outside world. And thank you for giving us a platform such as YouTube where we can come together about our favorite fandoms and discuss, Lord. And may I gain lots of subscribers and lots of views, and may I provide quality entertainment to my viewers. In Jesus' name, pray, forgive me for all my sins. Amen. Alright, that's pretty much it. And like I said in the beginning of this video, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. The more subscribers we can get, the more quality my channel will be, because I would like to I'd like to buy Filmora, that whole editing software that you see the script that goes along the bottom, and I would really like to be able to use ad revenue to get that off and stuff, and improve the quality of my videos. So if y'all please subscribe, if I can get to 1,000 subscribers, then I can make a little bit of money, and then hopefully use that money to improve my videos, which will make you guys and gals a lot happier. Anyway, that's my whole spiel. Have a great day.